Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we have an amazing problem for you guys, right? We're going to be talking about add binary, right? So let's see what it's all about, right? So it says given two binary strings A and B, right? Return their sum as a binary string, okay? So two strings will be given to us, right? And we need to return the sum of those two strings, right? They're given to us in binary, right? And the result needs to be in binary as well, right? So we have to make sure we do that, guys, right? So the first example is given to us, right? We have 1 1 and 1, right? So those are the binary representation of those numbers, right? So um so to understand what's going on, right? So to us, so this is 3, right? This is what 3 is represented in binary, right? And this is 1, and this is how it's represented in binary, right? And the result is not 100, right? It's 4, right? This is 4 representation in binary, guys, right? So this is what this is, okay? So pretty easy to understand, right? So that's why the result needs to be in binary as well, right? Okay. So for this one, we have uh, this, right? So which is, I assume it's like 10, right? Plus 11, right? Gives you 21, right? This is what we have here, right? You could probably check this as well, right? So this is what those numbers are, guys, right? So now how do we solve this problem, guys, right? Maybe let's go ahead with the most obvious solution, right? We always, in this channel, always try to go with the most obvious solution, non-clever, easy to understand solution, right? Brute force, right? So what I'm thinking right now, I don't feel like doing a lot of work. We could start off with maybe converting those numbers into decimals, right? And add those numbers, right? And then get the result and then convert it to binary, right? And then send that back to our caller, right? And we should be good from there, right? So we could call it probably, built-in libraries, right? Or whatever language of choice that we have. Pretty sure they have some function or library that can help us to convert it and add those numbers, right? And then we convert it back to the binary, right? And then that would be, straightforward, right? Easy to understand, right? But the interview setting, the interviewer might not be, what I'm saying, might not let you slide by using this approach, right? So we have to be a little bit more clever, right? We have to maybe actually do the addition ourselves, right? Maybe the interviewer is trying to test other aspect of the coding, right? They're kind of expecting more from you. So now we kind of, have to think about it a little bit more, guys, right? So how do we think about it more? What else do we need to do? Okay. Let me see. Let me check, guys. Right. Okay. Maybe we can do the addition ourselves, right? Maybe we do the addition in binary, right? And return the result like that, right? But how do we do the addition binary, right? I mean, I'm not comfortable with that, right? Uh, guys. So it's actually very similar to how you would do a decimal, guys, right? It's very similar. Just a couple rules here and there that's changed, right? But the process is still is the same, guys, right? It's the same. The addition, how we do addition, digit by digit, like in a decimal, right? The same thing we do in binary, guys, right? The only difference, like the base is different, right? Decimal we got base 10 and binary we got base 2, guys. But that's the only difference. Other than that, everything else is the same, guys, right? So let's go through a couple of examples to really help us to solidify, to actually see how to approach this problem, guys. How do we do it, guys, right? Okay. So let's go ahead. So let's get the first example here, guys. I went ahead and laid out everything here so that we can get started. Okay. So we have two numbers, right? So how the heck they got 100, right? That's what we're probably saying. Okay. So you know how if you were to do it in decimal, right, we do things digit by digit, right? Starting from the rightmost digit, right, and work all the way to the left side, right? It's exactly how we do it as well in binary, guys. Just like in decimal, same thing in binary, right? So, so a couple rules here and there, right? So, the same thing, we have carries in decimal, we have carries as well in the binary additions as well, right? So that's something that we need to keep track of, right? And other than that, I think everything else should be the same. So yeah, let's get started on that, okay? So let's do the addition, right? So yeah, 1 plus 1, right, gives you So now 1 plus 1 is 2, right? In binary, 2 is represented like that, right? 2 is represented by this, like this, 1 0, guys, right? That's how we get number 2. Okay. We get number 2 here. Okay. So now we can't just put 10 here, right? Like that, right? It wouldn't make sense, right? So we see that we have a carry, right? The carry is 1. Okay. And then we also now we put this digit here, right? We'll put 0 in this spot, right? Because this is how the same way if we were to do, let's say, for example, 18 plus 7, right? In our decimal, right? We do 8 plus 7, 15, right? We put this 5 here, right? The significant, right? And then we carry the 1 to the next spot, right? And then we put this right there, right? So this is exactly the same thing I'm doing right there, right? So since we have 10, right, we have a carry now. We'll put 0 here, right? And then we would carry the 1, right? Put the 1 here. And now we do the same thing, 1 plus 1, right? It's 2. We get another 2 again, right? Which is the same case here, right? We put 0, right? And then we carry the 1 again, right? And then it's by itself, so that's how we end up getting these sweet 100, which is not 100, actually 4, guys, right? So yeah. So let's go through this example. This example is gonna help us to see a lot of different cases that we could get, right? So like we know, we start from the least significant one, right? We 0 1, right? It's easy to understand, right? There's no carry because 1 in binary is what, guys, right? Is 0 1, right? Or 1, right? Basically, okay? So there's no carry, right? Carry is 0, okay? And then we go on here again, right? We do 1 1, right? It gives you what we know the case. We know there's a carry, guys, right? Because that's the 2. This is how it's represented in binary, right? So we put the 0 here. We carry the 1 here to this spot. And then we put 1 straight through. 1 plus 0 is 1 plus 0 is 1 again, right? So we put 1, right? And then we get the case again. 1 plus 1 is 2, guys, right? So we put the 0 here, carry the 1, and then we get this one, right? And just like that, that's how we end up getting with this this thing right here, guys, right? So you could see it's very similar to how we do it in decimal, guys. It's just that the base is different and everything else is pretty much the same, right? So we add the things digit by digit, and we carry the stuff here, right? So one important aspect in the code that we're about to show you guys, right? So how do we determine if it has a carry, guys, right? We determine if it has a carry, right? So there's also cases where we might get the number 3, right? And then 3 in binary is 1, guys, right? So how do we get the number that we need to place here, right? The least significant number right there, right? We get that number by doing the modulo, right? So how we get that number here, right? So a modulo, so whatever the sum is for that particular row, for that particular column, right? Digit, right? We'll be doing the sum mod 2, right? Because that's the base that we're using, right? And then how do we get the carry? The carry will be done by dividing, right? So the division will give us exactly what we need, guys, right? So it will be sum divide sum, right? Divided by 2, right? That's the base that we're using here, okay? So we see that for 2 example, right? To get the 0, right? So to put the 0, right? To target the 0, we do mod 2, right? That's how we end up getting the 0, right? And then we do sum, right? Divided by 2, right? And then when we do that, we get that that's 1, right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? So that's how we end up getting the carry, guys, right? That's how we're gonna target the carry in the code, okay? I just want to make sure that part is very clear, okay? And other than that, everything else will be the same, right? So let's quickly go into the code real quick, okay? So yeah, guys, let's quickly get into the code. So like I was saying, the code is going to be even more simpler than the walkthrough that we just did, right? So we're going to have 2 pointers, right, to help us in looping through each string, guys, right? Because we need 2 pointers, right? Because we got to be looping through both strings independently, right? So we have I for the first string, right? We're going to have this I pointer to help us in looking through, right? So like I was saying, we're going to start off from the rightmost digit, right? So that's where we start off from the last character, right? In both strings, guys, right? And then we get okay, we do this here. And we have a while loop, guys, right? to help us do the addition, right? So we're gonna have a string builder, guys, right? A string builder to help us in building the output string that we want, okay? Also, we're gonna introduce a carry variable to help us in keeping track of the carry, okay? So now we're gonna be in this while loop until, right? Until we run out of numbers in both strings, guys, right? So we're gonna stay in there if there's still digits to be processed, right? Because we're gonna be processing digit by digit, right? So if there's still digits to be processed in either the first string or the second string, we're gonna be in this while loop, right? Okay, so either or, right? So but or yeah, so we're gonna have a sum, right? So for the sum at that particular column, right? So that's why we have a sum variable to help us in keeping track of the sum for that particular column, right? And then we're gonna use the sum variable to know whether to if we have a carry or not. Okay, just making sure that we're consistent, right? So the sum would be set to carry initially, right? Every time, because we know how, when we're doing the addition, we're doing the carry like that, okay? So we do the carry here, right? And then what we'll do here, guys, right? We're going to check if we still have digits to be processed in the first string, right? Because we do that by doing this check, right? If there's I is greater than or equal to 0, guys, right? If there's still numbers, right, then we will be summing that number, okay? So we do a that char, okay? So we get the number at I, right? And then we're gonna do -0, right? So they're gonna be doing ASCII value subtraction, right? And then that's gonna give us the actual number that we're targeting, right? So if it's a 0, then 0 minus 0 ASCII value, right? Since this is the same character, right? Then it would be 0, right? If it's a 1, then the ASCII value of 1 would be 1 away from this ASCII value of 0. That's how we get the actual number, right? Decimal number, okay? I mean, the whatever number it is, right? Decimal, sorry. So we get the number, okay? And then we do the same thing, guys, for the second string, right? If there's still characters to be processed, then we make sure that we change that as well, okay? So it checks the first string, still digit, let's get that digit, right? So 1, right? There's still numbers in that second string. It does the same thing right there, guys, right? And then what we do, now the interesting part is going to be important, guys, right? So we need to calculate the carrier, guys, right? Is there a carry? So even before we calculate the carry, right, it could be either or, it doesn't really matter, right? So let's say we calculate the carry first, guys, right? So we want to know if there's a carry, right? We do the carry by doing the division, right, with the base that we're using. So we're using base 2, which is binary, right? So we end up doing with this one, guys, right? And then we want to append down, right, we want to record that particular digit, right, that we're going to put at this particular column, guys, right, which I was doing the walkthrough. 0, 1, we want to put a 1 here, right? And we got a 1, 1, we put a 0 here, right? And we have a carry, right? Because 1 plus 1 equals 2, and that's the representation in binary, right? So there's a carry of 1, but the number that we put at the particular spot is 0, right? It's very, very similar to stuff, guys, right? Just making sure that, okay, looks good. So what else we're going to do? We're going to subtract the pointer, guys, right? So we could go on to the next digit, right? And then continue doing the addition that way, guys, right? And before we go, right, so once we exit, right, there are some cases that we may end up, right? Remember in the first case, right, we may end up with a carry, guys, right? So we processed the first so we process the second string, right? We run out of characters when we get here. We process this, right? We're done with characters, but there's still a carrier of 1 here, guys, right? So we need to make sure that we account for that, right? So if we didn't have that, then the result will be 0, guys, right? So that's why we make sure that we have it. So if the carry, we do a simple check, right? Is it greater than 0? If it is greater than 0, then we append and make sure to record it, because that's it's crucial, right? It looks good so far. And after we do that, guys, right, since we were appending, right, you see how we were doing it, right? We or going from, from the right to left, right? We put 0, right? But the string builder, right, the way it works, right, it would be like that. It'd be 0, right? And then we append, we go to the next digit, right? And then we put 0 again. And then we go to the next digit, there's a carry. We put append 1. This would be how it would be in the string builder, right? So for that reason, we need to reverse it so we get the actual real number, guys, right? This is what we're doing here. Okay. And then we're gonna produce SB that reversed the toString, guys. Right? And after that, I think we would be in good shape. Let's press run code. Looks good so far. Let's press submit. Awesome, guys. We're able to pass all the test cases, guys, right? If you guys found value, you guys enjoy this video, let me know that in the comment section, right? If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe because we'll be doing a lot of other videos just like this one. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.